Michael and Xochi Birch could probably have fit into the serial entrepreneurs panel as well. After quitting their day jobs in 1999, they came around to starting something that perhaps no one here has heard of. If you can put my podium up on the screen there. There it is. That's right, they started birthdayalarm.com. You get one guess as to what it does. It's a site that, as I understand it, it lets you indicate your birthday or discover the birthdays of others and get a reminder, which, when you get the reminder, you have a chance to pay money to have it send the very thoughtful email. And perhaps it even suggests a template for kind of like a Microsoft Word wizard. You know, it looks like you're writing a birthday card. Would you like help with that kind of thing? And it's been profitable from the start. 45 million members right now. 300,000 of them pay $13.95 a year for birthday reminders. Apparently they're primarily women, even though it's guys who forget their birthdays because guys can't even remember to go to Birthday Alarm. But the entire thing is run by one guy, and as a result, they've been able to leave that a bit on the back burner. In 2003, they founded Ringo.com. I looked at Ringo.com from 2000, and this is what it looked like. I don't know from whom you bought the domain name, but by 2003, it had cleaned up its act a little bit. And by their description, Ringo.com was a ripoff of Friendster. They sold it in 6 months and had a bit of a non-compete. If you actually look at Ringo.com now, you'll see that it is a ripoff of Flickr. So they've changed their business model substantially since those early days. They then began another social networking enterprise known as Bebo.com, a late entrant into the social networking space. But we're familiar with late entrants, say, in the search engine space, who end up being the real victors. So in that spirit, they have been working with Bebo ever since. And in 2006, the New York Times dubbed Bebo as the next MySpace, coming up and surpassing it. So here to tell us a little bit about Bebo and some of the issues they've been taking on are Michael and Xochi Birch.
Hello.
Thanks.
Hi. Shall we sit?
So, curious, how many people here are on Bebo, have Bebo accounts? Yeah, a few. And is this for like competitive intelligence purposes, or you actually use it for social networking?
Well, my kids are into it.
Your kids are into it, so you're on there to keep an eye on them. So dad has to be a friend. So we thought it might be useful to start with just getting a bit of a tour of Bebo, and each of you has suggested a profile. If you want to put the podium back up on the screen, tell us about this profile.
So this is a typical member. He's a 20-year-old Irish guy. So Ireland's our largest market per capita. We have, I think, 1.3 million members in Ireland with a population of 4.2. So pretty much every single teenager and person in their 20s is on Bebo at this time. So this is someone who actually contacted us. We did a video contest.
If you can leave it up on the screen, it'd be great. We're going to walk through it. Sorry, go ahead.
So we did a video contest on Bebo. We wanted to encourage user-generated content. There's certainly a lot of it anyway, but we wanted to provide some sort of reward for good quality content. And this is someone who actually entered a really cool movie. It's a little bit too long, actually. It's 9 minutes to show the full thing. But he created a video which showed an analogy between Bebo and the real world. So he got about 30 people involved from his university and went around with a video camera for a couple of weeks and filmed people posting Post-it notes on one another, which was the equivalent of leaving a comment on someone's profile, of walking around with a quiz book. Quiz is very popular on Bebo. They'd give a quiz to someone and he'd mark off and then score how well he did. One of the things you can do on Bebo is change skin, so customization is very important within social networking, being able to express who you are. So we have skins on Bebo, which is a little different to MySpace, where it's just free format HTML. But any user can create a skin that they feel represents their personality. And then once they've created their skin, they can share that with any other user. So we have about 200,000 user-generated skins. And this is actually an example of one of those skins. I'm not sure whether he actually created this himself, but it was created by a member of Bebo. And there's a few differences between Bebo and many other social networks. So Bebo is about sharing content. It's about connecting with friends. So your default profile is actually private. You can only be seen by friends that you've connected with and confirmed. It's a two-way
So he happens to be promiscuous.
This man, you could say,
Yes.
is promiscuous.
But if we try to visit with his friends then, would they maybe not be visible since we're not their friends?
Some will and some won't. It's typically about half and half. So half the people choose to be private and half the people choose to have a more accessible profile. I mean, Bebo is designed to be most useful when you're connected with the direct friends. But some people like to have a broad audience. They like to be discovered. So the previous profile, someone who uploads a lot of content and they want recognition for that content. They want that to be able to spread virally within the network and become well known for it. I think that's auto-playing a video from the page.
That's coming from my computer because we're just on the page.
Yeah.
And now in panic, the engineers have turned down the volume because we have no idea what's going to happen next.
I'm sure it's a perfectly clean video.
It looks... You want to put money on that? But it looks like part of... They've turned it back up in a fit of pique at us. But I gather this is part of the Madeleine McCann skin. Is that right? So this is somebody who's been missing, so it's a chance for the person who owns this profile.
This is actually completely unplanned. But yeah, this is obviously a very well-known case at the moment. And people use Bebo for promotion, but not only of what they're doing, but anything they want to promote. And because we've built it to spread, for content to spread so virally within the network, this is something that's spread phenomenally within the network. So I don't know how many people have used this skin, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's in the hundreds of thousands.
And is there a way to search it to say, show me everybody who has chosen to adopt the Help Maddie skin? Or
you can go to the skin charts and it'll tell you how many people are using it.
Skin charts?
Yes.
So we have, because there's 200,000 skins, we have to have charts which rank the popularity of different skins. And you'll be able to work out how many people have actually adopted this skin. But this message has spread throughout Bebo in a phenomenal way.
Fascinating.
But completely unseeded by us.
Now, what else should we know about life on Bebo? What are the people who are here doing? They spend a lot of time on their own page kind of nesting and furnishing it?
Well, we can't stop people from flirting, but there's a lot of other uses of social networking besides flirting. A lot of people use Bebo just to share content, to talk with friends and family. Photos is obviously a very big feature on our site. And what people are doing is the profile page. This page is probably the most visited page on Bebo, and probably for a lot of social networking sites. It's about the other members. It's about people being creative, showing their individuality, and also sharing amongst friends content.
And if I'm a company wanting to somehow get into the space, I have something that kids might want to buy. A pack of cigarettes or gummy bears. Is there an office I can go to that's the Bebo office where I can say, I'd like to give you some money and see my gummy bears work their way into Bebo?
We do happily accept money from people, but it does depend what it's for. Obviously, cigarette advertising, I think morally we wouldn't do it, but legally we're probably not allowed to do it either. But certainly you can advertise on Bebo, and we keep it fairly minimal. So you notice on this page, the profile page is by far the most popular page on Bebo, and there's actually no advertising on it. So we actually downplay it quite significantly. The advertising that we try and encourage is engagement marketing. So we try and get people to interact with a brand rather than just forcing a brand in front of them. And if we can get users to opt into the brand, so we have sponsored skins. So the skins you've seen so far have not been sponsored, but you could have a Nike skin, and we'll feature it in a similar way that Google do with sponsored search results. So it's identified as sponsored, but people can opt into it. We don't force it upon anyone, but typically tens of thousands of people will use sponsored skins on their own profiles, and out of that tens of thousands, potentially millions of people will actually get to see it.
And can a brand have its own page? Could the Coca-Cola bear have a page?
They can, so the skin can then actually link back to the brand's page, and then people can actually interact and comment with the brand itself. And we run competitions on those pages and all sorts of things.
A lot of brands also use the site to poll members to try to get a feel for certain issues or something that's important to them. So they're able to communicate with the members. And so that's when it's most useful.
Josh is our brand advertising markability expert. Give him a free consultation.
I think you should probably.
I mean, I think the way they do it with Bebo is actually great. That they, sponsor skins.
Yeah, but that's not going to get you the check. They want to hear something they haven't heard before.
you know,
He's got to get a check for saying that.
we cut a deal before, so it's good. I haven't, to be perfectly honest, I haven't spent much time on Bebo, but it's good to hear that things are engagement based and that there's no Jack in the Box style pop-ups or adverts that infiltrate in the space. I'm in meetings all the time with people that talk about marketing to social networks, and they actually use the word infiltrating, and they say we're going to infiltrate. I'm sure you've heard it too. It's like infiltrate the user base, and we're like, what? You're going to do what?
You don't like infiltrate.
No.
It sounds too
It's taken advantage
tricky.
of, isn't it?
Yeah.
Upfront, authenticity.
We say, we preach integrate, don't infiltrate.
That sounds profound. And is it basically the idea, sincerity, that's the most important thing. If you can fake that, you've got it made.
We'll quote you on that.
That was really good.
All right. So why don't we add another person to the mix here? I'm very pleased to introduce Yat Siu. He grew up in Vienna, Austria, the son of musician